let's take a closer look at the new Tungsten Stand-Up Jigs that Northland's releasing this year. I got to use these baits early. I used them throughout the spring, summer, and fall last season, and they are very, very effective. A few things that I think you're gonna like about them. First things first, as the name would suggest, just the shape of this head is designed specifically to promote the bait standing more upwards when it's on the bottom, so that's just a really good way to present your baits. When you're dragging that bait across the bottom, you can feel the bottom so much better with tungsten. It's also just a smaller profile. You can take a jig that's a big heavy weight and you can make it a lot smaller with tungsten, so that's another thing I really like about it.
When I say it's important to have tungsten, it's for that reason. Like, you can feel that tungsten hitting the roof of the walleye's mouth when he goes to he'll pick up the bait by the tail a lot of times and just open his mouth, suck it in. You can feel that vibration when he hits the top, and you know when you set the hook, that's exactly where that hook point's going to go, and it's right through the top of the mouth.
You'll also notice that it's flat on the back side of the head, and what that means is when you're threading plastics on there, those plastics are gonna sit nice and flush up against the back of these jig heads. So this is a really, really good jig head option for plastics, but it's also a really great option for live bait as well. This last year in spring, I was putting minnows on here, minnows and plastics for the spring bite, both the short shank and the long shank. And then as we got into the summer, one thing that I discovered was the bait keeper on this jig is absolutely incredible for night crawlers. So once you get that crawler threaded up over this keeper, it's gonna be stuck on there really tight. So a really good crawler hook. And then in addition to that, you know, just nose hooking a leech on this short shank hook is going to be a go-to for me. Cast that out, let it sink down to the bottom, and let the stand-up jig do its work with that leech up above it. Just kind of, you know, doing its job in the water column. So a lot of cool utilities for these jigs. They come in 4 different sizes. You have the 16th ounce on the smallest size. This is gonna be a really great little finesse jig. Can be used for crappies, but also great under a bobber as well. Then you have the 8th ounce, which is what I'm using a lot with night crawlers or if I'm fishing up shallow with other live bait. The next size up is a 1/4, which is starting to get into a little bit of a heavier jig where you can put plastics on there, swim baits. You can also fish minnows on there and all different types of live bait, but that would be in a little bit deeper water or maybe in current. And then the biggest size is the 3/8, and that's gonna be for fishing very deep or for fishing, you know, paddle tails, stuff like that. Another thing I like about this jig is just the fact that the hook is very stout, so this is a premium mustad hook. It's kind of a perfect in-between hook, I would say, whether you're fishing live bait or you're fishing plastics.
There is your Tungsten Stand-Up Jig walleye right there, and he's not very happy because he fell for that little trick I pulled on him, but we'll get him back. But I changed up colors there. I went to a little bit of glow because if you look behind me, it's a little overcast, and the same rules apply for color on stand-up jigs that apply to any other jig fishing. You know, you want to use some brighter colors when it's overcast, and you want to be not too aggressive with this. Think of stand-up jigs as a finesse approach to catching walleye. Right now, like I mentioned, we had a cold front come through. I'm skull hooking these minnows. They're really tried and true. They're going straight. They're doing little pops. It's really a finesse approach. So remember with your stand-up jigs, don't get too crazy with them. Just let the jig work the way it does on the bottom. Use lively bait, use fresh bait, and work it slow, and you'll catch a ton of walleye.